In the beginning, I was being ignored completely. When they couldn't ignore me, I think I was the most cartooned, the most lampooned person on comedy shows. It was as if I was like the sort of patron saint of lost causes. And then, the moment that it really changed was in 2004, 8 and then 10 former communist countries joined the European Union with total rights of free movement. And this led to millions of people coming into the United Kingdom. It was too much, too quickly, it was out of control. And that was the moment when I linked the immigration issue with the sovereignty issue, the independence issue. And that was the moment that the establishment turned on me. And they spent basically the next 15 years trying to tell anyone that would listen that I was a racist, leading a dark, dangerous movement that harked back to the 1930s. I mean, nothing could have been, David, nothing could have been further from the truth.
I'm Dave Rubin, and joining me today is a British activist, commentator, former leader of the UK Independence Party, as well as the former leader of the Brexit Party, and now he's on tour right here in the US of A, Nigel Farage. I don't know how we haven't done this before. Finally, welcome to the Rubin Report.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, and I've come actually with a very optimistic message, because I know a lot of conservatives here are really down at the moment, down that their guy got 75 million votes and somehow didn't win, down about what's going on in our cities with, a deliberate attempt to divide black and white people, which is horrendous, and down about what Biden might do. Is he going to pack the court? All these things. And my sense from my American friends is some of them are down to the point of being disillusioned.
Yeah.
And disillusioned movements, pessimistic movements, don't win. So the message I've come with is this. We voted Brexit June 23rd, 2016, a great historic night. 3 years later, guess what? Yeah. Our contract to leave on March 29th, 2019, we woke up on March 30th. Not only had we not left, it looked like there was no prospect of us leaving. And yet, we led a grassroots rebellion fight back. We've smashed the establishment. We've won. We've got Brexit. The Socialist Party in the UK, who were heavily on the Remain side and heavily pro-open borders, are literally being crushed electorally week by week. And my message is, however bad it looks, actually, this administration are making some terrible mistakes. What is happening on the border effectively turns every state into a border state. So my message is, don't be down, don't be mad. There's a big chance here for a massive victory in 2022 and an even bigger one in 2024. But the right in America needs to unite, needs to have some common messaging. Just one or two less egos around the place might be quite helpful. But look, if we could beat the global establishment and get Brexit back over the line, you can do it.
So I love the message, obviously. There's something kind of funny. You're coming to America to bring less ego. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. But you're one of the things that I love about you, and we've gotten to know each other over the years a little bit. We've had a couple of gin and tonics together once or twice.
We sure have.
But
yep.
You're the type of politician that actually does instead of just talks. Can you talk a little bit about what that is like? Because I think most people see politicians at this point basically just as bureaucrats who pretty much just take their money and do nothing, or maybe lock them in their homes. But you actually make things happen, and that's got to be very different than most of the people that you're around often or have been around over the years.
So in June 99, against the flow, totally unpredicted, I found myself being elected as a member of the European Parliament, and everybody was shocked. Who is this guy? What's this new party? And I remember the next morning, the phone rang, and it was a guy who'd been a commentator and a satirist in Britain, a guy called Christopher Booker, very intelligent man. And Christopher said to me that morning, he said, Nigel, after 40 years of study, I can tell you, there are two types of people in politics. There are those who want to be someone, and there are those who want to do something. And make your mind up, young man. I was young then. He said, make your mind up, young man, which of those you want to be. And here's the point. He was absolutely right. The vast majority of people in politics are there for rank, title, position, status, and they'll sell their grandmothers to climb the greasy pole, because for them, it's all about career advancement. Then you get people in politics who are doing it out of genuine conviction because they believe the agenda they're pursuing is going to make their country better and the lives of their people better. And I personally couldn't give a damn about titles. People say, oh, you're not Lord Nigel, you're not Sir Nigel. I couldn't care less about any of that. I did this because I could see globalism building. Back in the 1990s, I could see bureaucracy was beginning to win over democracy, and I was determined to do something about it. So yeah, I'm a doer, and I'm not here for the time.
Do you remember when you first saw it? When was the first moment that you saw something that really alarmed you?
The first big moment was in 1990, when the government pegged sterling against the basket of European currencies, effectively the Deutschmark. Now, anybody with any economic history knows all peg currency systems end in disaster. None of them through time ever succeed. And they've done it because they wanted us to join what became the euro. And that was the first alarm bell that whatever they were telling the electorate come general election time, actually, they were literally selling off our country. And then there was a rebellion. In 1993, there was a rebellion. Backbench conservatives rebelled over a new European treaty, the treaty that turned it from a European community into a European Union with a flag, an anthem, and all of those things. And I watched this rebellion. And right at the last minute, John Major, who was the Prime Minister, used a motion of confidence to get this treaty pushed through. And I couldn't believe it. I said, well, hang on, you've been telling me, guys, that if this treaty goes through, we lose our independence. And yet, when it came to it, you decided to put your career, you decided to put your party above the interests of the country. And I realized then that the so-called Tory Eurosceptics were frankly a bunch of chinless wonders, a bunch of losers. None of them had the stomach for the fight. And I said in 93, I'm going to do this. I don't care if people laugh at me. I don't care if I'm the only person that votes for me. I'm going to fight this and do this as a matter of principle. And, frankly, that moment spelt the next 27 years of my life.
Did you have any idea the opposition that you were going to come against? I mean, when I was in London last time, when I saw you, it was during the tour with Jordan Peterson, and it was in the middle of Brexit, but there was still a huge feeling like, maybe it's not going to happen, and maybe the bureaucrats still will take over or do some last-minute tricks. And then, of course, it was framed that all the people that supported it were racists and bigots and all the rest of it. Just the endless machine that we now all see that has been so exposed, and in many ways, from an American perspective, thanks to Donald Trump, was so exposed. Did you realize how crazy that machine was going to be and what it was going to do to you and your supporters?
Gandhi, of course, fought the campaign for India to leave the British Empire and to get its independence. And Gandhi once said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, and then you win. And I went through every one of those four stages. In the beginning, I was being ignored completely. When they couldn't ignore me, I think I was the most cartooned, the most lampooned person on comedy shows. It was as if I was like the sort of patron saint of lost causes. And then, the moment that it really changed was in 2004, 8 and then 10 former communist countries joined the European Union with total rights of free movement. And this led to millions of people coming into the United Kingdom. It was too much, too quickly, it was out of control. And that was the moment when I linked the immigration issue with the sovereignty issue, the independence issue. And that was the moment that the establishment turned on me. And they spent basically the next 15 years trying to tell anyone that would listen that I was a racist, leading a dark, dangerous movement that harked back to the 1930s. I mean, nothing could have been, David, nothing could have been further from the truth. That is what they tried to do. And I have to tell you, in all honesty, if I'd known just how horrible my life was going to be, I don't know whether I would have done it. I finished up having to live with protection round the clock. If you went out somewhere, people threw things at you. And this was the media. This was mainstream media working with big global corporations, trying to maintain their own self-interest. But in the end, you can keep pushing accusations against somebody. But if you can't prove it, it's a little bit like crying wolf. And in the end, people saw through it. But yeah, it was tough, it was hard. And then, I was perhaps guilty of some naivety, because on the 23rd of June, 2016, that moment where we've won, and all the parties promised that they would honour the result. And then we saw a 3-year campaign. As you say, we were told we didn't know what we voted for. We were told property prices would collapse. We were told millions of jobs would be lost. We were told foreign direct investment from America and elsewhere would dry up. We were even told, brace yourself for this one, we are even told there would be an outbreak of super gonorrhea in the country because the drug that was used to treat it came from Germany, and we wouldn't even get supplies of drugs. I mean, there is no depth to which these people did not sink. But the resolve of the British people did not budge 1 inch. And I believe there is a parallel. I don't believe those 75 million people who voted for Donald Trump have changed their mind. In fact, I think in many ways, probably in their hearts, they feel it even more strongly. And that's why I'm on this tour, to spread that message, a message of optimism, a message that you can beat the odds. You really can.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about international issues instead of nonstop yelling, check out our international playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out our full episode playlist. They're all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.